So we're going to call this meeting to order. This is the October meeting of the Parent and Community Outreach Subcommittee. Deb, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Bailey?
Here.
Mr. Hart? Ms. Roderick?
Here. We salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Do we have any citizens input?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we're gonna jump right in for an update on the Parent Square rollout.
Hello, everyone. So Parent Square is moving along very well. We are at 97% contactable in the district. Some of the questions that have been out there for parents, simply, if they do not get the Parent Square app, do they still get the communications from the school? And they do, as long as they sign up with the building and they're in Power School, they're gonna get either a text, an email, or if they have the app, they'll get all three. We're in the process now with the Sims team working with the building clerks and administration to clean up. We have 612 family records to go through to get to 100%. And those numbers are a little bit, they're not true because some of those are simply a student may not have an email address in there, however, they have a cell phone and they have another contacted measure. They look at a full 100% in Parent Square as they have each piece, app, email, and cell phone. So we're working with the buildings on cleaning that up. I can tell you that you guys have some data in front of you, but as of right now, 8,518 parents in the district are receiving messages via email. 12,120 parents are receiving it via text, and 4,309, just around 36%, are using the app.
Okay.
The text has been the most popular, and I actually have an account set up for most of the schools that I can just see the text coming through, and all of the schools to date we have done just over 37,000 direct messages to parents between all buildings. So the platform that we wanted to go with being able to transcribe and different languages is working well, and Maria will, it blows School Messenger out of the water. It's been a great product. We are doing internal trainings out at the buildings. We have a number of people on the Sims and Instructional Technology team that have done some training with Parent Square, and now they're training out in the buildings, and it's been well received all the way around.
Awesome. Are there any pockets in schools where we're noticing that we're having less signups for families? Like, are there schools that
So the only school right now that would be struggling would be the Early Learning Center, but they're just coming on.
Right.
And then the numbers are a little low as far as Talbot and RPA and Stone. RPA and Stone, based off of the number of students, and Talbot, it looks like parents were they didn't know that they could sign up for one or the other, and now that they have been, the numbers have been going up.
Okay. Excellent.
If I can just add, we're gonna have a family workshop on Parent Square for any family that would like to learn more about it. October 12th at Henry Ward. It will also be live streamed through Fred TV.
Awesome.
And schools, as they, because as we know, September is a very popular month for open houses. The schools have worked into their open house that they have tech people there that have helped people sign up and download the information so that they could have access.
One piece that was just, and again, to talk how well the platform is working, at the high school, we sent out the digital device policy electronically this year, and just under 2,000 families used it to sign electronically.
That's
So
awesome.
we're moving in the right direction. We're trying to get paperless at some point, so this is a step to get us there.
I think this is great. Technology, we're just using technology to get this stuff done. I would honestly want to see just a difference between like before and after, and not just for me, because I think I think using this is obviously, you know, we're gonna make strides, just so people know, right, what's going on. But this is amazing, you know.
You probably can look at school messenger data to see what the reach
I
was
don't
by
know that
school.
we even
Oh,
have
we
it.
still
You
have,
have
we
some?
can, yeah,
Okay,
we still
alright,
have
okay.
that.
Yeah, because it's
access.
great, and that's one thing for me, is just like when we do great things, I want people to know that we're doing great things, because, you know, there's times that people are aiming and they're like, oh, well, what's going on here? Just so people know, right? And the messages are going out, the engagement is going up, so I just kudos, because this is really cool.
And the last piece I'll leave you with is the Power School to Parent Square integration. So now what happens with Mr. Michaelis and his team have been working tirelessly on, every night Power School takes a data dump and actually automatically uploads into Parent Square. So as schools are correcting email address, cell phone, app, yes or no, it's automatically updating into Parent Square. So that connector now is working. And it's actually taken us down. This time last week, we were probably at 1,100 errors or non-reachables, and we're just down under, I believe I said, 612. And as these syncs are coming down, we'll drop hopefully in the 200s in the next few weeks.
So we cut that almost in half in the last week.
Just from
That's pretty
the piece with Power School connecting into Parent Square and that data export actually running correctly now.
awesome.
Now, question, for those parents who we can't reach, what are the methods for that? Like, what do we do?
Maria?
Schools are, well, no, that's fair. We do have, that is an issue. Sometimes if they have not signed up, what we're asking schools is to go through their system, and in the, he said there's 612 families, right,
Yeah.
that we don't have
'Cause it is a lot of
information
work.
on. So they're, by school, we're calling families and saying you need to sign up, or because families need to know that we need accurate contact information, right? So, and that's just another means of communicating. So that's happening at the school level. They're reaching out to the families specifically and asking them to provide. Sometimes, and I will say, I used to use School Messenger all the time because I used to send messages every single Sunday to families. Part of that is, the good part about this technology as well as Parent Square is, if I'm calling all of my families at my school, it generates a report, an automatic report.
Yeah.
And a parent will say, oh, I nobody's called me, I don't have the information. I used to say, let me go right to the report, and it'll say, oh, the number's blocked, or can you unblock it, or tell me the email that you're using, or the number that you're using might be a digit off or a letter off, and then we fix it right then and there. So that has to happen at the school level so that they can make those adjustments.
Awesome. No, that's just so people know, because 93% is amazing.
It is.
I just played with the numbers, and we're looking, so with Scott's updated numbers, we're looking at like 95%.
Yeah,
of
that's
folks
amazing.
enrolled. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anywhere above 90, to me personally, like, that's amazing, especially rolling this out.
And what's nice about Parent Square is that report that says 612, it just shows you right on the screen, like student A, we're looking for a mom email address. We're not looking for a cell phone number. We're not looking at a bad bounced email.
Yeah.
It tells you exactly what it is. So it
Exactly.
makes it easier. The work in the lift is a little easier at the building level because they can just correct that. And as they're correcting that in Power School, Parent Square updates every night, 7 o'clock. And we'll hopefully, I would say by November 1st, I would love that number to be down in the 50, 60.
Awesome. You have any other
Goals.
questions?
That's it.
You hit that one. That's awesome. All right, so we'll move right along to we'll move right along to what are our prioritized needs for this upcoming school year.
So we do have a presentation for you. A huge priority of ours is really bringing families in, right? So we're launching a series of family workshops throughout our schools, but also having them televised or live streamed through Fred TV. So that's really important to us to really give the two options for families. Those who can come in person, wonderful, but if you can't, you still have the opportunity to access this information. So in October, we have several already planned. They will be sent out in Parent Square just as reminders for families. But a lot of the workshops that we're doing was really, talking to our schools and asking them, what are the needs? What are people asking for or needing? So that's really what we really decided on when we looked at topics and reached out to presenters on what we're going to do. For this month, we are launching with Parent Square next week. We'll have a Katie Brown presentation on teen dating violence, October 19th. And then on the 20th, we will be doing a parent workshop on bullying. So that's the 3 that district-wide that we're presenting this month. Next month, we're still working on a bunch. We do have 2 or 3 that are already scheduled. But I'll show you the next list of some of our goals in upcoming. So really looking at suicide prevention, ESL information, new math, just helping families with math and how they can help their children, IEP and 504 information. So really looking at the experts within our district as well to better inform families and bring them in and problem solve with them. We're going to have a presenter. This is funded through the DA's office. It's called Corey's Cause, and it's an amazing story if you have a chance to look it up. And it's a student from Taunton who ended up having an injury and became addicted to opiates and OD'd, and now he's a paraplegic, I believe, but he's coming in with his family. So just really having that presentation for students and families. We're pretty excited. We've been back and forth with this amazing family in communication. I think that's happening in January now. Helping your children succeed in school, homework survival, English classes for parents. We're working those details out right now to start offering those through our district. Promoting literacy in your child. We're reaching out to our early childhood experts to present these workshops throughout our city as well to help families parent an anxious child. That's we're seeing obviously a rise in anxiety, so really looking to support those families. LGBTQ, sorry, there's an error in that. And we're looking to do that in June. Keeping our youth safe on social media, that's huge. We're in communication with a few different agencies who are, we're in the process of securing those dates. Encouraging emotional growth, brain development and learning styles. Kindergarten readiness will happen in March, and then just ready to launch high school seniors. So just really supporting families on what they should be doing. Those have already started at the high school. I think they've already done 1 or 2 small groups with families and students.
May I jump in?
Of course.
So if I could jump in, you asked about the priorities,
Yep.
the prioritized needs. All of those things that Cindy just spoke about all fit into these buckets of, prioritizing engaging our families.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to create mechanisms to support and engage our families, right? And family engagement, parent engagement doesn't mean that only attending workshops, right? It means, helping our families to become active participants in their child's learning, right? You and I talk a lot about this, right? So creating opportunities for families to connect with our schools, right? We have to open up our doors, we invite our families in. If we're saying we want them to be active participants, we need to create the conditions for them to do that. And also to build relationships with our families, right? So that families feel safe in coming in, asking for support, because we have a duty to support our families and supporting our kids. All these topics that Cindy just talked about all fall under these priorities, right? As a district, we've prioritized creating a sense of belonging for our students and our staff and our families, right? And providing our kids with access to grade level content by supporting them through appropriate scaffolds. All of that fits into the work that we're doing, right? Trying to figure out how do we support our families to become actively engaged in our kids' learning. Because we all know we can't do it alone, and our families can't do it alone, so we need to create strong partnerships. So let's break down those barriers and ask our families to truly partner with us.
So we just lost the screen.
That's okay.
We have it in hard copy, right?
We do, we have hard copies.
And we can make sure that gets posted too. and,
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
folks will have access to it.
Do you have any?
So the next section we're going into is our SEL curriculum in our schools. We've been using the Choose Love curriculum in our elementary schools for 3 years now. That continues to be the curriculum that our elementary students are using, really looking at those 4 pillars of courage, gratitude, forgiveness, and compassion in action. So these past couple of they started with courage, so it's really learning about courage. The middle school and high school, we purchased the SEL curriculum, the leadership program, and we're preparing our schools to launch it. The high school already launched theirs because they were super excited to get it started sooner. Our plan was to get it started in our second term, so that way we gave all of our teachers all the tools and supports that they needed to launch this. So that way, the high school wanted to start it sooner, so they did. So they've started theirs. The middle school is going to be starting theirs in the second term. But we're really supporting our schools at every level to make sure that they have all the support that they need from the leadership program to roll it out. So we've been meeting with the leadership team via Zoom. They're going to be coming down to train at some of our schools again. They're amazing presenters. And through that curriculum, we have the leadership program. We have Empowering Upstanders program, which is anti-bullying program, and that's for the middle school and high school. There's also curriculum on Her Story, empowering young women in groups. And there's also a Boys to Mentors curriculum that we purchased along with that as well. So that's going to happen at the middle school and at the high school level. In the meantime, the middle school and their advisory. So all of the middle schools and the high school have advisory. So at the middle school, what we've been doing is we've been doing a lot of lessons, really with a whole idea of ensuring that there's that sense of belonging happening in all of our schools. But in the middle school advisory, it's really looking at like how to work in a team, how to resolve some conflict as well too. What does it mean to be part of a team, and what have you. So that's been the curriculum lessons that the kids have been doing up until now. But as you know, October is Bullying Awareness Month, so we are going full hard in all of our schools with the MARC curriculum at the elementary level, which is 10 lessons. At the middle school level, we're going to be starting the curriculum next week. That's going to be rolled out in the advisory at the middle school level, and at the high school level, they're doing a lot of the Empowering Upstanders as well too in that. So not only are we going to be doing the MARC curriculum and when we're talking about bullying, but there's going to be the Empowering Upstanders is going to be woven into throughout the whole entire school year. So it's not just, hey, we're doing this, it's the month of October, it's going to be done throughout the whole entire school year. A lot of our schools, elementary schools, they use the zones of regulations, really identifying your emotions and really understanding that all emotions are okay, and how do you get to, if you're in the red zone, how do you get yourself into a zone that you feel like you're in a place to regulate those your emotions. I'm trying to think of what else am I missing here. I went a little bit out of order. We did offer responsive classroom right now for our elementary teachers. So we partnered with Responsive Classroom, and we're doing it's a 4 Saturday session. So that's being offered right now to elementary teachers, and it's really to support responding to classroom behavior and what have you. So that's happening right now as well.
And I think in a lot of what we're doing, we're really connecting that work to the CASEL 5 core competencies, so that's really being aware of what we're teaching, what our goals are, and celebrating those with students so that they're aware of what they're learning and what they're getting out of this education and curriculum.
So our Choose Love curriculum and our Empowering Upstanders curriculum, right at the beginning of any of the lessons, it tells you where it's aligned with CASEL, right? So they all have that same format, Choose Love and Empowering Upstanders. So whatever lesson the students are going to learn, we know what competency that that's going to be taught. Historically, we were district-wide. We were celebrating those 4 pillars of Choose Love, courage, and because we're doing the different curriculum at the middle and high school level, and they're all aligned with CASEL, we're now going to be celebrating those CASEL competencies, right? So right now it's all about self-awareness, right? We have to start with self-awareness first. And so really highlighting those lessons, and then we'll be having a celebration at the end of October. I'm trying to remember the date right now, really highlighting that CASEL competency.
And I think that one of the things that we can't ignore the fact that attendance plays a critical role in everything that we do, right? I think that one thing that we've learned is the last 2.5 years have had a tremendous impact on attendance. Our kids need to create better habits again. We need to create environments where they feel safe to come to school, etc. So we're doing some work with Cindy and the team and resurrecting our attendance task force and really instilling in our kids good habits and teaching them the importance that if they're missing school, they're missing out, and they need to be in school to access everything. We can have all these programs, but if kids aren't in school to access them, then they mean nothing, right? So we need to work with families and we need to work with kids to teach them about the importance of being in school and how that will help them prepare them for the future and beyond.
Absolutely. And as we ask our teachers and staff to, deliver this, we really wanted to provide support and training for them so that, it's really delivered in a meaningful way and they feel confident in doing this, right? And building their expertise. So in doing that, we were very thoughtful about, what's out there that's, going to get us, biggest bang for our buck, I guess, right?
Absolutely.
And one of the programs that we truly believe in is the responsive classroom. So we are offering that for elementary staff currently on Saturdays. So they're coming in, and so that's been a great addition. We've invested in training with Dr. Ross Green in collaborative problem solving for middle and high. Secondary teachers will be trained in the leadership program. They'll be completely trained by the end of October.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Absolutely.
Do we have Ross Green coming and training?
So
our staff?
we did a virtual training with Ross Green. He's amazing.
Can someone let me know next time? Because
Okay.
I would love.
So they're going to be partnering up. For example, schools have implementation teams that they're going to be working with the CPS. I don't know if it'll be Dr. Green or if it'll be someone within
somebody
his
from his-
staff as well too. So they'll be meeting bi-weekly with someone from his team. But if he comes in and does another session.
So I jokingly say, can you please let me know? It's just so for families are aware that Dr. Ross Green is really the expert on this work, right? So his work has really been the foundation for so much when we look at how do we problem solve with kids, how do we form relationships with kids, and his whole premise is around like plan B-ing stuff. So like we can have a plan A, but when that goes awry, because it likely will, right, because this is real life, then we have to make sure that we have planned plan B as well as we have planned plan A. And so he really approaches things in a family-friendly, kid-friendly kind of way. And so I jokingly say, but I'm not joking. I would love to be there if he presents.
And he is phenomenal to even listen to his all of the background and his why. And it comes down to really like how do we support our teachers to be part of the solution of why a kid might be having a behavior in the classroom, right? It's one thing to get an administrator involved, but at the root of it is that relationship, which is the most important is that
Yeah.
between that student and that teacher. So it's really giving them the tools that they need so that way they can do some of that work, because that fosters that strong relationship with that student. So yeah, I'm excited for that. So sorry I cut you off, Cindy.
No,
that's
it was me
okay.
that cut.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry.
All staff has also already been trained in mandated reporting and bullying, which we do annually anyway, but, that's been done prior to, right in the beginning of the year, so we can, make sure that we're all on the same page
Yeah.
and we're up to date on new, new findings and, the latest techniques and, expectations.
And then the secondary, all secondary leaders participated in a full day training in our Admin Institute with the presenters that came down from the leadership program, and it was phenomenal. The feedback I've received from the staff who had been here for a long time was that this was one of their best trainings that they've ever been to. Just their technique, just the way to approach situation, because it's all about building SEL, right? And so the fact that I'm actually extremely happy that it wasn't just SACS getting that training,
Right.
because I think we miss that boat sometimes, because we're all doing it. So it was your department heads, it was your principals, it was your VPs, so it was every administrator who received this training to really fully understand the why and the importance of it. So that was super exciting.
Another point of information, just for families to be aware of when we talk about social emotional learning, this isn't a new concept. This is something that we've been talking about like for all of child development. But what we're doing is we're bringing it in and teaching it explicitly, because all kids come in with different backgrounds and different experiences, and so they may not all have those skills. And so it's so important that we teach those in a really explicit kind of way. So when we're talking about self-awareness, we're helping kids reconnect with understanding who they are, how their body operates, how they respond when things are difficult. And so this isn't a new concept, and I know sometimes that gets thrown out a lot, like, well, we're teaching all these new SEL things, and it's like, actually, this is something that we've been teaching forever. So I just wanted to clarify that for families, that this isn't new, but we're explicitly teaching.
Because we know that our kids won't be able to access content
Right.
if they are not able to manage and regulate themselves.
Right.
So
We have to do A before we can do B,
Yeah.
right? So
You're teaching the whole child.
we're teaching the whole child and the whole family.
Absolutely.
Anything else on our prioritized needs?
Want to go into that?
Well, just talking about some school-based SEL supports that we've been, really excited about recently. We have some SEL mental health grants that we were awarded. So through those grants, we've been able to really build up our incentives at the schools to increase student attendance and support the PBIS schools. We've built up our sensory calm corners in our elementary and middle schools. That's super exciting to do, and actually we're still unpacking boxes to send to schools, and so grateful for that.
If I could just add to that, so that the reason for that is historically there'd be a calming area and a place in the school next to the classroom. So we want them in the classroom, so that way the students could still take space if they needed to for whatever reason, but they're still listening and then joining the classroom when they're ready. So there's a time, so it's not like they're not pulling away. So they just might need to regroup and then get back into the classroom, which is what we're pushing into, to make sure that we're keeping the kids in the classroom when we can. Obviously there's going to be opportunity, there's times when they need to be checked in with outside of the classroom, but the goal is to have those supports in the classroom for the students.
So we've partnered with some community agencies as well to provide some proactive groups in all of our elementary and middle schools. These groups and topics of these groups were really generated, by need in the school. So each specific school might have something different they might need. Another source of data has been our CELIS. We did do a inventory, a CELIS strength-based, right? So it's a strength-based inventory with students last year. through DESE and got that data back. So really looking at that data and what our student needs are. So that's really educating us in what we need to build as far as groups in our schools to be more proactive. Along with those groups for students, we'll take those topics and create the family workshop. So now it's really connecting what the student needs are, but also bringing parents in to learn about that topic that they're learning in these groups. So that's been, really exciting, and that's in the works now. It should be starting, very shortly. We've also restructured our advisory at the secondary levels to focus on SEL skill building and relationship building. That was, an area that we really needed to grow on for our students and really educate them and practice those skills with. So that's some extra supports that we've added.
And we continue to work with our community as well too, so whenever there's a resource that's available within our community, we're always tapping into them. Whenever there's a need that the schools are saying this might be a need, we always tap into the community to say how do we meet these needs to support the student and our student growth, so that continues to happen on a regular basis.
Any other questions?
No.
You covered it all.
Trying to be thorough for you.
I appreciate that, and obviously, this is something that I personally feel very strongly about. But this work has to happen so that way our kids can be successful, because our kids can't be successful unless they have these supports and they have those skills under their belts, right? So I say all the time, and people laugh at me, but they need Maslow before they can bloom, right? Just these ideas of, their hierarchy and of needs, right? And so we need to have those basic needs met before we can meet their academic needs.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I accidentally skipped over 3.2, so I just want to acknowledge that and go back to that. So I had gone from Parent Square, which was 3.1, accidentally switched over to 3.3, so I want to acknowledge that and move back to 3.2, and that's an update on our community facilitators.
Yes,
Which is
just
nice
perfect.
changes,
Yeah,
Perfect
we have in all of our schools, except we have 5 that we do not have community facilitators for yet. But we do have 11 of them already on board at 11 of our schools. Of those 5, some of them are already in the hiring process, and some of them we're still searching for the right fit for schools. But they are obviously September. They've been helping with transitioning back to school, etc. I know that Cindy has a lead family engagement specialist at the PACE, and our plan is that we're going to bring the community facilitators with that lead specialist, and really we need to define our vision, what we want of that role. We need to clarify those roles and responsibilities. We don't want it to be just another office person in the school. We wanted those positions because we wanted them to be links, right, and connectors. Connect our families with schools and do some of that work with families and connecting them with resources with the community, etc. So we're going to be doing some of that work with the Parent Center, and so that everybody has a common language and common vision. Obviously, from school to school, it'll vary based on the needs and the population, the community, but we should have some common language that we're using across schools.
Absolutely. Our district lead, Dawn, she's been very busy, as you could see, all the workshops we're working on. So that's been amazing to have that person there to help in this work, because it's so time consuming. But our goal is, once we get all of our community facilitators together, we're actually going to have a menu for them. So when they go back to their schools and they're identifying what their needs are, we can already have, that menu of workshops with their contact people of who can present those, to just make their work a little bit easier. I want the community facilitators at the schools to be just doing that, with their families, so that we can do that back work of okay, you need this, we're gonna make that happen for you, and then you can schedule it at your school. So really supporting them at that level, so they don't have to, they can just focus on families and students' needs at the schools. They'll also be telling us, you know, what new needs might come up. So they might see, you know, some trend happening in their school and bring that information back to us. So we'll take that information and we'll look, you know, for resources that can deliver, you know, whatever that education might be.
And additionally, it's beyond, it's not just about providing workshops, right?
Right.
I think that we, obviously translations is a big thing, right, across the district with some of our community facilitators, Portuguese speaking, some of them are Spanish speaking, and we need to share resources across schools, et cetera. But we also, if I'm a community facilitator at CUS and we have students transferring in or a new family coming in, I would want that community facilitator to be the face of the school, to meet with that family, to give them a tour of that school, to, you know, show them, to go over things that are happening in that school, so to start building that relationship immediately, right?
Absolutely.
So that that family feels welcomed and part of that community. So I think that's just as important, right? We want to create, absolutely, those are important things, create opportunities to bring families in so that they can engage in some of those workshops, et cetera, but we also need to make sure that as families are coming in, and even for the families that are there. So if I'm at a school and we have open house, that community facilitator is front and center and is doing their own little, you know, parents are going to the classes and everything, but also has their own little thing and tells parents exactly what they can do, how they can get involved and engage in the school, share contact information and all of that good stuff, right? Because I feel like that's been a missing piece, right? And sometimes parents want to do things, but they don't know who to turn to out of school, or they haven't reached the right person. So hopefully that's going to be a bridge, one bridge.
Yeah, I definitely see this position ever evolving. I mean, even when you explain some of the things that we're talking about, there's going to be a lot of relationship building. So this is going to unfold over time. So I'm really eager to see how this looks. And even some of the things you were just saying, like my mind's racing. I'm like, we're doing, you know, school visits. You have kids going from Morton to the high school, and you know, so no, this is great. I'm just really eager to see how this unfolds.
So I had actually just pulled up questions that I had, so it's what I was doing over here. We have a couple of positions that are not filled. Is there anything that we can do to support that?
Well, I think that,
I mean, I can't pull people out of thin air,
Right,
but
no.
you know.
but I mean, I think that we have some that are in,
Try.
we have 5 openings right now, but some of them I know, like, and it's really 4 because 2 of the schools are sharing a community facilitator,
Right.
2 small schools. But I know that some of those are already in the pipeline to be filled, and then others they are. So it's just really getting the word out there of people, you know, we want people that actually are, you know, in the community, know the community, because they're going to be able to speak firsthand about the community and the schools, et cetera. So it's really, you know, talking about, we interact with people every day. So if somebody, you know, they're looking for a community facilitator over at Sylvia, you should look into that. But we have to get the word out, and we have to make sure that we bring in the right people to do that work. I mean, I think that this is the beginning of some good stuff that we could be doing as a district, where bridging some of the gaps that we've had in regards to being inclusive with families. I really, that's work that needs to be done.
Yeah, I just, and this is just my personal opinion. I just think it's gonna, this role will be defined as it goes on. You're not gonna really be able to clearly define it, especially when we talk about like hours, right? Because you might see someone who's working like a flex schedule,
Absolutely.
who's doing stuff in the community. So, just wanted to put that out there.
I think that goes back to every conversation that we've had, though, about what community really mean. So we have our school community,
Yeah.
right, and that's one piece of it, but that school community, whether it's at, Laterno or Morton, that school community is embedded in our larger
Correct.
community.
Mhm.
And so that was my other question. Are there things that we need to do to help those folks that are in these positions, if they're not or even if they are familiar with the greater Fall River community, are there things that we can do to help them acclimate to the community so that way they know, where if a family is coming in and they want some support around finding recreational activities for their kids, that we can point them in the right direction, but they can only do that if they have that information.
Right.
So are there things that we can do to help support that?
Well, I think that's where Pace, the lead family specialist, and having a system in place where those community facilitators come together regularly so that they can share practices and share those experiences, etc. So we need to build that mechanism and have it in place, systematize it so that they can help one another. Nobody comes into any position, I don't care what position,
No.
knowing everything,
Nope.
right? But we just need to provide opportunities for people to learn.
Yeah.
And now with this support, I will have more time to go into schools, right? So that's
Mhm.
my goal this year, to really make that time to go into schools and meet with them at their school. So really looking at, what's planned here and what are some of the needs, that families are identifying or students are identifying, and giving them those contact information, people that can help navigate. It could be something like, a family might be, experiencing homelessness or needing to apply for SNAP benefits. We'll be able to connect them with people and train them to help our families with all of those needs.
Can I offer a suggestion?
Sure.
So we know that we have a resource guide in the community, right? And so I'm assuming that we're making those accessible
Yeah.
to community facilitators and anybody else in the building. Would it be helpful though if as part of that, like we're acclimating them to the community and showing them that we actually take folks down if we can find the time to introduce them, do these warm handoffs to folks.
Yeah.
Like, so if you have a family experiencing homelessness, here's the person that you can call, and we're actually gonna go down there so that way when they're engaging with the family, they can actually explain to them, this is what it's going to look like. Because we know that often prevents families from being able to move forward and access those supports.
Yeah.
Not something that I understand can happen
Yeah.
overnight or can happen across the board, but sometimes when we kind of do those warm handoffs for folks, it makes things a little bit easier. So if Claudia, is a facilitator at, at Fonseca, right? She's aware of whatever resources are in that particular area, or she knows that if the family is looking for some help and the Family Resource Center would be a good idea, then she can make that connection immediately to, hey, and this is what it's going to look like. If you go down there's a bus stop right outside, or this is where you can park, because we know that stuff will prevent families. Not knowing prevents families from being able to access stuff, because it can be scary.
Absolutely. You're right.
Yeah, good feedback.
Just an idea.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else on community facilitators?
Just some October events. I mean,
Oh,
again,
yes.
I'm talking a lot of, the macro piece,
Yeah.
right? The community as a whole. October is Bullying Awareness Month, so we really, push that out to all of our schools and community to celebrate, and be aware of what, the importance of this, right? October 3rd, we had a district-wide Wear Blue to stomp out bullying. We've had some great participation with that.
My little one was extra excited to wear blue that day.
That's awesome.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
October 19th is Unity Day. District-wide, we'll be demonstrating unity and bullying prevention, united for kindness, acceptance, and inclusions.
That's when we ask everyone to just really come out wearing their orange that day as well too, because that's really following Pacer model as well too. So we've been doing that for a few years, which we're super excited about. And then all of our students in grades 6 through 12 will be participating in the Say Something presentation, which is brought to us by the Sandy Hook Foundation in partnership with the Attorney General's Office. This is the training to really identify warning signs if someone is in need of support, whether on social media or if someone says something, and how to say something to a trusted adult. We have done this in our schools in the past, but we're actually going to be having a presenter do the presentation. So that's already scheduled in our schools starting the second week of October. All of our, again, every student in grades 6 through 12 will be part of that presentation where they'll hear this message. So a letter is going out to all parents notifying them that this presentation is going to be happening in their school, and as well as with a date as well too. It's a message that we've even sent to our younger kids, just importance of like who's your trusted adult at school or at home, and just to really make sure that if they're concerned for any kiddo, or just who can they talk to.
And then finally, October 21st, we'll be having a community trunk or treat at the Parent Center parking lot, 4:30 to 6:30. We're inviting all our community partners to set up a trunk or table. We'll provide tables, with some fun activity or healthy treat for our babies.
Healthy treat.
I think that's, yeah.
Listen, I think I have to say that.
Doesn't work.
I'm sure I'll get
A
flack for that, but
Sugar
if
candy.
we're doing a community trunk or treat,
Not sugar
listen,
candy.
yeah, this one.
I do not judge.
Mr. Bailey here is talking about sugar-free candy, which, is necessary. And I do want to point out, though, that whenever we do community events like that it is important to have non-food items
That's
that we're
right.
giving out
Yes.
as treats, because, not every kid can access that. And so every kid
Absolutely.
deserves to have that
Right,
opportunity,
right.
too. So if we're going to be inclusive, then we're absolutely going to do that. I don't know about healthy treats.
It's all a balance.
I don't know about that, but that's okay. Do you have anything else on the community facility or role? Okay, so our last agenda item is, I know this is a big concern for many of our families and our kids, but steps and initiatives to combat bullying at home, school, and in the community.
So
School is one piece of the puzzle, and I want to say that very clearly.
It's 3 pronged.
This is not just, bullying does not just happen in school. It happen, and usually doesn't stem, or rather, isn't just that's not the only place it's gonna take place, right? So it's gonna spill over, or it's gonna start from somewhere else and spill over into school. So it works in all directions, and we just have to be aware of that.
So part of our policy is that every single person that comes into contact with any student has to be trained in our bullying policy, and knows the steps to take if they witness anything, or if they hear anything, to intervene, and to who to notify at each building level. So that happens right at the beginning of the school year at all of our buildings, where the school adjustment counselors give the presentations to whole building on what the policy is, who to contact, how to contact someone, and just the procedure that goes along with that. As I mentioned earlier, we are using the Massachusetts Aggression Reduction Center program in our schools that really look at like how to empower students and understanding what bullying is, what conflict is, and how to navigate some of those things. So at the middle school level, like I had said, we're going to be starting that curriculum next week. So a letter will be going out to all of the parents, letting them know that that's going to be started next week, with a focus on understanding what is bullying, what is conflict, how social media plays a big part in that, how sometimes going on, your emotions get bigger when they're on social media, and sometimes kids might say things behind a screen that they normally wouldn't say to someone else. So all of those lessons are all aligned and getting ready to be rolled out at the middle school, and we're doing that at the high school level as well too. We also purchased, like I had said earlier, when we purchased our SEL curriculum for our secondary schools, one of the add-ons that we purchased, not just a SEL curriculum, but we purchased their Empowering Upstanders curriculum, which really goes deeper as well too. So we're doing the two. We're doing the MARC and the Empowering Upstanders as well. October is Bullying Awareness Month, right? So again, this is the big ask in all of our schools, that the whole entire month really takes that focus on really understanding what bullying is, and the impact that it has on students. But just because it's a bullying awareness month, that doesn't just end there. And which is why when the advisory kicks off at the high school and middle school with our SEL curriculum, they're gonna have woven in parts of the empowering upstanders throughout the curriculum. So we already have a scope and sequence of what that curriculum is gonna look like throughout the advisory year. So those lessons are gonna continue on. So we're going hard in October. At the beginning of the month, it was all about like how to work as a team, how to your part in being a team, and now bullying curriculum, and it'll be woven out throughout this whole entire year as well too. I just really wanted to point out, so when a school adjustment counselor is aware that there's a bullying allegation, right? When they do their investigation, speak to all parties, speak to the parents, and if they do, at the end of it, find that it was indeed bullying, at the end of that, then we have to create a support plan for both of those students, right? So it's not just a bullying investigation gets done and that is it. A support plan is done for both of those students afterwards. One, to support the student who is the target of the behavior and how to empower them, and what we can do to support them in moving forward. And then also, and the other part of it is the student who is engaging in those behaviors. How are we now teaching that student new skills, right? And how do we teaching that kid how to look at the perspective of the other person and what that must have felt like. So all of that. So work goes into the pre-work that happens when we find out that bullying is alleged, the investigation, but then the work that's done afterwards as well too. So it's, and I know that we're doing a parent series as well too, just to support families as well too, and what bullying is, but not just, it's not something that I want just done in October. It's something that like we need to weave in throughout the whole entire year, understanding that sometimes situations come up, and we need support from everyone when that happens, right? We need support from parents and guardians on social media and what kids are into as well too, and really checking in with them and really connecting with the school adjustment counselors if they're aware of anything that might be of a concern.
And I think it's important to know as well, even if bullying is not found or supported, there's still a lot of education on both sides of all the students involved. So it's not like, if it's unsupported, there's, we just forget about it. There's a lot of work and check in with these students just to make sure that, they are able to navigate and, really come together to grow from these experiences, because that's what we want to do with our students, right? Really prepare them for life and adulthood and navigate these hard situations. So, I hope families know that that's not something that we just discard. There's a lot of work that goes into it, whether or not it's found to be bullying.
Do we share with families right off, like before anything happens, when we're talking to families about bullying, do we share with them that there's a legal definition? And so when you're doing an investigation, that's essentially what you're looking at. It's not to say that an incident didn't happen between, Claudia and Cindy. That's not what we're saying. It's, does it meet the criteria for this? Like, do we do that with families?
So that's the expectation that is done, because we have to look at the criteria for what the law says bullying is as well too. And again, and many times when it is conflict, the behavior is still not okay.
Right.
It's still not okay behavior that we need to address, and we need the parent support. And if there's a something happening which it spills over, it's still being addressed. And like Cindy was saying, we still do a lot of work to make sure that we're preventing it and supporting those kids from it happening again, and really doing that educational piece of, look, if we continue to see a pattern in that, then we're gonna have to revisit it again. So a lot of that work goes into it, but I think the biggest piece is when we're having those conversations with the parents to let them know the outcome, is explaining why you got to that and how that meets or does not meet that criteria.
I'm wondering though, we just talked about how we have such a high rate of responsiveness with the Parent Square. If we can push out the bullying policy by itself
Yeah.
to families, if bullying is October's Bullying Awareness Month,
Yeah.
we push it out so that they have it without all the other, you know, how at the beginning of the year you
Yeah.
have so much paperwork, but it goes out in that so people can have it at their fingertip so that they can use it and refer to, and we can explain to them.
And I was thinking more of proactively too, because we know that when people are heightened about a situation, and let's face it, if your child comes home and says, hey, this is going on at school or in the community, as parents, we immediately react to that, right? Like, it's hard not to as a parent. It's really hard to hear. Here, by the way, is what we're actually going to do. We're actually looking at the legal criteria for this, right? As a parent, that's really hard to hear in that moment, but if we have that ahead of time, like, listen, if this comes up, this is actually what's going to happen, and I want to tell you this when things are calm, so that way it's more likely to be accepted when we're having that conversation again if something should come up. Am I making sense there?
Yeah.
Okay. Just the thought. I have lots of those, so I throw them out a lot. Just an idea. It sounds like a lot of good work is happening. A lot of we're taking a lot of initiative and being proactive, because that's really what bullying interventions look like. They need to be a proactive approach. I'm like, what's happening right now?
Concert in the back.
I think it's important. This is the family and community outreach, right? Yes, there is a lot of good work happening. There's a lot of good work that still needs to happen. We're not naive in thinking that we're doing everything right. We know that we need to, because we see there's a disconnect with many of our families, right?
Sure.
So we need to do work in building those strong relationships and taking away some of those barriers so that parents feel like they can approach us, come to us, you know, talk to us about some of the issues kids are facing, or ask us questions. That's what we're here in service of our kids and our families, right? That's the work we do. So we acknowledge that we are doing good work, and there's a lot of good work that is yet to happen.
Yeah.
I just had a thought and it just completely flew out of my mind. It's because it's 7 o'clock. Do you have any other questions about bullying and the initiatives that we're taking? Okay. Is there any new business? I do want to point out one thing. Today is World Teacher Day.
Yes,
and
it is.
I would be remiss if we did not acknowledge that we have tremendous folks that are doing really hard work every single day.
That's
And it feels sort of trite to be like, hey, thank you, but sincerely, you know, I think these things, when we have these things like it's World Teacher Day, I think it's just really important to acknowledge that we've got folks that are really working tremendously hard to keep our kids safe and to make them feel connected, let alone doing the academic piece. So just want to acknowledge that.
It's big work.
It
It
is
takes
big
big
work.
people to do it, so we're grateful.
Absolutely. So I just want to acknowledge that it's World Teacher
Absolutely.
Day.
Thank you.
I think that's important. Anything else for new business?
That's it.
Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I will second the motion to adjourn, and we shall adjourn.
Thank you.